colleagues, thank you very much for waiting. Welcome to this press conference after meeting or discussions of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the EU member states, led and presided by High Representative Josep Borrell, who will debrief you about the discussions, and then you will be allowed to ask questions, which you already did, and submitted the questions in writing, which I then will read out in the order as they came, and then High Representative will reply, but first he will brief you about the content of the discussions. High Representative, please.
Good morning to everybody. Even if I don't see you, I know you are there. Well, today we convene for the second time with the foreign ministers via video conference due to the current exceptional circumstances. And we focus today on the international response to the coronavirus pandemic, following up our discussion last week and taking into account the last events. We discussed three aspects of this pandemic from the point of view of its external dimension. First, the big effort that we have been doing to repatriation of the European Union citizens from abroad, and also the consular cooperation to bring them home. Second, strengthening the international cooperation and assistance to third countries. And third, disinformation and the need to continue fighting its negative impact on our societies and people's life. On the first issue, consular coordination and repatriation of European citizens. Member States has acknowledged the progress and work done by institutions in coordinating the consular assistance of member states to their citizens abroad. Our delegations on the European Union External Action Services, the Consular Task Force, have been working around the clock to assist member states, reaching out to third countries, organizing repatriation flights, ensuring landing rights and access to airspace, as well as transit access and extension of visas. As far as I know, the last data said that thanks to this effort, we have brought home more than 350,000 Europeans, 350,000. But there are still 250,000 remaining, and many operations are under the way. Things become more difficult every day due to the fact that many airlines have been grounding their planes, and also because the airspace has been closing every day. But we continue our efforts in order to offer the possibility of flying back to Europe to these 250,000 Europeans still requesting it. On international cooperation, we agreed that this is a global crisis and the answer should be global, and the priority should be given to the assistance to the most vulnerable countries, as this is also in our interest in the longer term. Their problems will be also our problems. We cannot solve this pandemic just at home. Even if we solve the problem in Europe, it will not be solved if it is not solved everywhere, because it can backlash at any moment. If we don't solve the problem in Africa, we will not be solved it in Europe. And Africa is of particular concern to us. They are our neighbors, and the pandemic there could get out of control very rapidly. Unhappily, they don't have the same healthcare capacity that we have in Europe. Just remember that in Europe we have about 37 doctors per 10,000 inhabitants. And in Africa they have one doctor for 10,000 inhabitants. If you compare the number of beds in the hospitals, you compare the number of intensive healthcare units, the difference is overwhelming. So it's clear that the same threat can cause very much damage in Africa than in Europe. We have to help Africa in our own interest, because if the pandemic spreads there, it will come back to Europe. In some countries, in some areas, which are under big trouble with heavy fight, like in Syria, Libya, or Yemen, the devastating effects of the coronavirus can be multiplied, putting two conflicts at the same time. And that's why we fully support the United Nations Secretary General efforts to coordinate a worldwide response to the pandemic. And we also support his appeal for an immediate global ceasefire. We have also discussed that sanctions should not impede the delivery of essential equipment and supplies necessary to fight the coronavirus. And we have been working in a communication that would bring support both to the United Nations Secretary General and the Special Envoy for Human Rights, Madame Bachelet. This communication is on the way. Let's see if it gets unanimity of the member states in order to ask for softening the sanctions for humanitarian reasons. We will discuss further these concrete measures with development ministers on the 8th of April. And finally, last but not least, because it is very important, we have been sharing the same concern about the infodemic. We can call it like this, infodemic, a pandemic of information that accompanies the coronavirus pandemics. Mis- and disinformation continues to proliferate with dangerous impact on public health. All ministers have been expressing their big worries about this phenomenon and putting emphasis on the need to increase our activities and capacities in the fight against disinformation. The European Union External Service has a rapid response cell who was created in another moment where disinformation became a problem, and we will continue to tackle disinformation effectively and coordinate better our efforts with the member states and with all social media platforms, in cooperation for sure with the Commissioner in charge of this issue. Well, this is a brief summary of today's discussions, and now one unrelated issue, but an important one. The Council finally, yesterday night, published today, adopted the decision of appointing the former Minister Miroslav Lajcak as the European Union Special Representative for the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue and other Western Balkans regional issues. I am sure that Miroslav, with whom I've been working at the first when we were colleagues at the Foreign Affairs Council, and now from my responsibilities of High Representative and Chair of the Council, we have been working together, and I am sure he will be doing an excellent job helping me to relaunch the dialogue between Pristina and Belgrade. Thank you for your attention.